Hey, this is Amir. I play Aram on The Blacklist, and you are listening to The Blacklist Exposed.
Aaron, you may be a good agent, but first and foremost, you are my friend. Welcome to The Blacklist Exposed. I am Agent Troy Heinrichs.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson, and I have never underestimated the power of glitter. Not ever. In fact, I'm wearing it right now. You can call me Cinnamon.
Creepy.
Thanks for joining us this week as we discuss number 41 on the Blacklist, the Artax Network, which aired April 28, 2016. It was written by Don the Noon and directed by Don Thorne Jr. That's a whole lot of Don. That's confusing. That's confusing. And can I point out the opening, which sometimes Troy writes, he writes his opening. He likes to be deep with his opening or funny or whatever, but originally it said great friend. I went from great friend to just, you're my friend? That's offensive, and it hurts me.
I was trying to match the show. I
feel like I downgraded a little bit. Like from before we started this podcast to now, I've downgraded.
Yep.
Man, that hurts. Okay, well, show notes and other intel for this episode of The Blacklist Exposed can be found at theblacklistexposed.com. A quick point before we get going this week. We are winding down to the end of the season, and we'd love to know what you all, every one of you listening, thought of the podcast this year. Because we are coming back for season 4. We've already renewed ourselves. And if you could take a few moments to drop us a note in the iTunes Podcast Store, the iTunes App Store, Google Play Store, just leave us a review. We would be forever in your debt, like Red. Just tell us what you love, what you wish we did less of, what you think we could do more of, and if you want to see something new for Season 4, let us know. There, or you can email us at feedback@goldenspiralmedia.com.
Yes, please. We would love to know how much more Mother Theory you want next season.
None.
0.
There's my vote. Can you write that down? None.
Got it.
Zero mom theories.
So we asked you to answer our profiling question of the week last week, which was, is Liz's father still alive?
Mary said, could be. She got really heavy exclamation points, so I'm trying to emphasize. He was shot. Can't recall anyone saying he died from said gunshot. Well, I think they did several times, honestly.
I don't think they said he died. Said, I shot my dad, is what she said at the end of season 2.
I killed my father. Well, she said that.
Her interpretation, right? It's not like she's standing there watching him like take his last breath.
I don't know. I think they did. Troy thinks they didn't. I'm sure somebody has like a transcript somewhere.
Masha wasn't putting his, the hand over his eyes as it passed out in the fire.
Exactly.
Judy said, it's a difficult question because since the only real evidence we have is Lizzie remembering shooting her father and Katerina, I believe, referring to the death with her saying it wasn't that he died, quote unquote, from last week's episode. I have no reason to think otherwise. In my opinion, people may wish or hope that Lizzie's father is still alive, but the show hasn't said it, so I do not believe it.
Man, that's right, Judy. Thank you. If it's not in the show, I don't count it either. Mm-hmm. Solidarity. Tori said, yep, I think Mom and Dad are alive, and neither of them are red. She's throwing gas on a flame.
Dude, throwing digs at my heart, Tori. Ellen said, I still say that Red is her father, so yes, Daddygate in full effect.
Boy, people, this episode got that going again, didn't it?
It sure did.
Man, people were like, I told you! Everybody says I told you every episode, and they're different people with different theories saying it every episode. Alexander said, I mean, honestly, we seem to be all about bringing back the dead lately. I know, it's like Walking Dead almost, isn't it? And it is fun running all the possibly possible scenarios, but the truth is, the show's credibility and class are at stake when nobody stays dead. Hear us, Marvel? That's just me adding that. I think both the parents are really dead, but if they were going to bring someone back, it would be Katerina. Between Sam, Red, Cooper, Tom, Aram, Rustler, the man shot in the fire, and now Papa, there are more than enough men in the story, father figures and otherwise. Probably why next week's big bad is a woman. At last. There are only so many ways to write a man/woman connection using the same woman. I see what you did there. It would be much more interesting to see a female/female one at last. So Dad's dead, in my opinion.
That was a long way to get to the answer.
I like it.
I do too. I think we need some more female characters, especially since we lost one.
Especially Famke Janssen, because I have said before, every time I see her, swoon.
Absolutely. Nada J said, he may be alive for all we know. Liz shot him. Did she kill him? Or did the fire kill him?
I like how you emphasize the Well done. Well done. You should be an actor, my friend. Robert said, Red is her father. Be careful, because everybody's so sure. Everyone except for Liz has known this since season 1.
Everyone. He's like talking like me now.
Yeah,
everyone loves the mother theory.
I think it, therefore everyone. Last night's episode confirms that. Only blood relations could tolerate one another the way Red and Liz's grandfather did. I will tell you 100%ly, I do not agree with that statement. Oh. I have very close friends that I have the exact same relationship with.
But I do believe that only blood relations could hate or tolerate one another, and we'll get into that a little bit more in Special Agent Intel.
Dun-dun-dun.
Catherine said, check out someone else's theory that Red might be Liz's uncle. I think that was yours, Aaron.
Yes, it was.
Dom could be Red's father and the father of Lizzie's mother. Look at that. We didn't even have to wait for Special Agent Intel. So Dom could be Catherine. Red's father and the father of Lizzie's mother.
Absolutely. Could be. Could be. Makes sense, doesn't it?
Katarina and Red, brother and sister. We said that one a long time ago. Yep.
You never need a reason. Oh, we'll get there, but could be. And Robert, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to slight your opinion. That's not what I was doing. It's just everybody is so sure that their theory is the best one. It's cracking me up because I have never seen so many people fight like differently every episode than they have these last couple, man. It's been a gas. Is what it's been.
Because the mother theory is right. Just saying.
Shut up. God, you're such a dum-dum.
So, what I hear from this is that Daddygate is still going strong. Red could be Katarina's brother. And possibly the mysterious lady talking to Panabaker this week, a.k.a. Famke Janssen, could be potentially Katarina's sister as well. So now my head is officially spinning. So while I recover, why don't you tell them what next week's question is going to be, Aaron?
It is. This week's profiling question is Famke Janssen's character. Yes, we know some people have already leaked what the name is. We're not going to say what the name is because it's a mystery until next week. It's not in the show yet. Is Famke Janssen's character ultimately responsible for Liz's death? Is she actually the one behind it? Even though we're being led down this path, is she really the one behind it? Or is there maybe something else at play?
And we still have death in quotes, just so everybody's clear.
We did. Well, we death. Did. Well, I didn't write it that way, but definitely quotes.
Definitely quotes.
Quotes, air quotes. We're going to talk about that here. Now strap on your bike helmet, kids, because we're going to work as we discuss this week's case profile. All right, we finally get Liz's funeral. Red finally makes it to Liz's grave, and we meet Papa Rostova. But not. I don't know why my Russian always sounds Italian, kids. I just don't know. I do what I do.
Good Lord.
But let's talk about number 41 first. Let's talk about the Artax network, okay? And I will say that this episode really, once again, is more of a serialized nature, less of a typical procedural Blacklist episode. Would you agree? Do you like this recent last few episodes change of that?
Well, I mean, it's no more serialized than the first part of Season 3 was or the first part of Season 2 was with the Berlin Saga. I like this one because it gets it in the serialized nature, keeps the story going from the very different last two episodes that we've had, and gets it kind of back towards that more procedural element. So this had a very good blend of both. And I think that was really interesting, especially when you learn about how this thing actually works, because, man, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, it does. And I guess I should ask, how do you feel about this episode? We are coming off of what a lot of people were touting as the best episode of the season, myself included. Some people saying best of the series. And other people just didn't like it. But then you've got the episode before that where Liz died. You see my quotes? You see them?
Yep.
Where Liz died. And that also was just people love that episode. So, you've got like 2 or 3 in a row that are just like people are off the charts excited about. Now you've got this one. How do you feel about this one?
I absolutely, after the second watch, think the episode is stellar. It's on par. It's been really good. The writing's been fantastic. Classifying the episode between the last couple of weeks, this one is a setup episode. It's not a filler episode. It's a setup episode. I want to be clear because there are pieces of this episode that do set up the rest of the season for the last 3. based on that, though, the work between Brian Dennehy and Red was just fantastic to watch a second time through. The stellar acting all around, and Don DeNoon did such a great job writing the words for them to spar back and forth in this mysterious relationship that they have. And then you're going, what is that relationship? Ah!
Yeah, I can't wait till we get to Dom, because seriously, God bless you, whoever the casting director of Blacklist, because Brian Dennehy, I mean, you guys have had some of my favorite actors on this show. And, I mean, you had Tony Shalhoub, you've got Famke Janssen, you've got Brian Dennehy. It's just like a smorgasbord of super talented character actors. I love it. I love it. And we'll get to Dennehy, because Dennehy has been a favorite of mine forever. Since the 80s. First Blood, first time I saw him, man. Oh, we'll get there.
Great character.
Oh, he's a great actor, too. Great character, great actor. Great movie. So Aram finds out that someone was monitoring Liz, and also Benjamin Stalder. He's the president of an energy consortium group. Basically, he advises governments and private entities on energy and economic business models. They ask him if he knows Liz, and he kind of alludes to, oh, you mean the fugitive? No. But do you think he really knows Liz?
That's a really good question. His character was a little shifty in that interrogation sequence, that he should think that he would know something more. But at the same time, I don't know if he really knows. Like maybe because the part that was strange was the surveillance of him. Like, why would they be surveilling him like they were surveilling Liz if they didn't want to get to him and weasel him and use him for some purpose? Which makes me think that he's just as much a victim as Liz is. But at the same time, the way he did the interrogation scene, it's like, God, you're so shady. Or maybe that's just because you're an energy company, and energy companies are shady to begin with.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, he met with the mysterious woman who Tom thinks is Katerina Rostova. And Rowan went after him at the hotel, right? So, but I think people are automatically assuming those two are connected. I don't think they're connected. I don't necessarily think Rowan works for Mysterious Woman. Do you? Or do you?
I would assume the way Panabaker set it up in the beginning when she said, hey, just leave it alone. We have our top officials on this. That immediately said, okay, there's something bigger going on with Panabaker and the government. And because of that, there's a bigger network at play. Because you have Solomon and Rowan working together with Operator 46. And then all of a sudden, this lady just happens to show up at the same time. I think that she's got to be connected.
I think we're being led to thinking she's connected. That's what I think. Because it seemed like they had a very seemingly open conversation, he did. And Panabaker did as well. And then you've got Rowan, who basically tries to kill the guy. So, I don't know. For me, I feel like maybe they're not connected. Maybe, the mysterious woman, is actually trying to...
Maybe she's trying to rein Rowan in because Rowan went rogue.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe Rowan went rogue. You don't know. I'm curious. I'm very curious. I think there's more at play here than we think. We'll find out.
Now, do you think that going back to Drexel and the whole concept of, remember at the end, it was like we have these TV monitors and they're watching our FBI people and the redheaded lady walks in and kind of looks at it. Was that like a foreshadowing of, hey, we're going to be watching people, and it was that rat program that actually is part of what the Artax network was able to do?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's all connected. All connected. It keeps being connected, man. It's all connected. I think we're going to find out. Well, hang on. When we get to Mysterious Woman, then I'll tell you what I think we're going to find out. The rest of the crux of the episode, because if you've never listened before, we always talk about the basic plot, then we talk about individual characters. Aram finally works through his Liz issues and figures out that a group is using the Artax network, a series of defunct satellites, to track their subjects. This leads to an enemy of the state kind of situation. And it leads them to Operator 46, which apparently is super close to the post office because they get there pretty quick.
24 time.
Yeah. Thank God. Thank God they're so close to all these operators. It works out pretty conveniently for the episode. They also destroyed the site, so there's no evidence remaining. So what'd you think about this little secret location?
I'm scared as hell that there's number one, that there's all this litter in space. I love the Environmental Protection Agency, Aram, coming to the fight for the stars. Jeez, we got to litter our own planet. We got to litter space too.
Exactly.
It was cool.
Yeah, we do.
But the fact that there are all these defunct satellites up there, which I'm sure there are, I haven't been to space, so I don't know firsthand.
I was there last Tuesday. It's nice.
Yeah, in your head, maybe.
George Clooney is still floating around. It's nuts.
Good call. Good call. In your dreams. Then we talk about how easy it is to like hack a satellite. There was actually a story back in, I think it was 2009. There was like British satellites, and people actually on the ground were able to send messages to the satellite and take over the satellite, all the military communications for Britain and things of that nature. So the fact that it's possible to actually beam signals into space and spy on other people and hack the system, it's kind of creepy, actually, and I kind of like it at the same time. It's very ingenious.
You like it in a way that you want to look in people's windows and see what they're doing in their free time? Is that why you like it?
No, I
creepy?
just want to know that I have a satellite under my control. Like, I own a satellite. Yes.
I only want it if it's got freaking laser beams.
Exactly right.
To their freaking heads.
Exactly
That's
right.
what I want.
Real genius style.
Oh, God. Ken, this is God. Oh, God.
Buy popcorn.
Oh, man, that's funny. All right, let's go to characters. Let's start with music, buddy. What do we got for music?
Well, we had Part 1, Homecoming by Ray LaMontagne, as Samar joins Tom at the hospital and complains to her about Red's men being outside. We also have the classic Ooh La La by Faces, as Liz's casket's carried out into the hearse. Then we had...
Yeah, can we stop? I got to say, coolest funeral procession ever. I mean, it was all slow motion Michael Bay-like. I mean, it was both sad and a little kick-ass.
And can we just say the subtext of the closing of the speech and the song? Let's be real here. It's like, we all know where Liz is.
We think we do.
I'm just saying, we all know where Liz is, wink, wink.
Yeah,
I wish that I knew what I know now.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Suitcase Full of Sparks by Gregory Alan Isakov, as Red searches through Dom's stuff about Katerina. And then Crime of Passion by Kurt Keane. Dom starts playing his now fixed piano. What a real nice gift that was for Red for Dom. I thought that was sweet.
And thanks to you mentioning Real Genius, one of my favorite 80s movies, now I've got Everybody Wants to Rule the World in my head, and it won't go away.
Which nobody mentioned on your Hollywood Outsider podcast when you talked about movie topics.
On soundtracks?
On soundtracks. I was like,
it
that was the
wasn't
first
written
one
for the movie, man.
I know. First songs that come to my head. It's Real Genius.
In the immortal words of Socrates, I drink what? God. If you've never seen that movie, go watch it.
Go watch it.
All right, Famke Janssen. She plays a mysterious woman, and you might recognize her as Jean Grey from the X-Men films, now played by Sansa Stark, which is a little different. But she had a conversation with Stalder an hour before the attempted abduction. She also secretly meets with Panabaker at the airport when Tom kind of spies on her, and Tom thinks it's Katerina Rostova.
It's got to be. There's no other women that we know about.
Yeah, no. As long as you don't read press releases, there's definitely not. So what do you think? What do you think about this?
I like it, actually. It's interesting that Tom wants to start tracking down somebody, doing a little spy work. I don't like Tom as the dad. Tom as the dad is boring. I like Tom as the on-the-run spy, rough and gruff. So the more we can get Tom moving again and figure out who can be the nanny, maybe Gina can stop by and take care of it for a while, I think that would be fun because Tom needs to be doing stuff. He needs to be rolling in the mud.
Oh, man, I liked him. I liked him struggling with learning how to be a dad. I thought it was actually really good.
It was cute. Yeah, absolutely. But I don't want to...
not cute. I think it was really good because I was a single dad, so I get it. So I see it from his world, so maybe it connects with me. I'm like, we got something. We connect. I'm not handsome as him. I don't look as Maverick-like in my aviator sunglasses or anything, but, I can finally relate to Tom.
I just don't want 22 or 13 or 8 episodes of it in the fall of watching Tom and his baby.
Change diapers?
Yeah.
That would be good. I got to get home. It becomes like like The Pacifier or something where he's got a nanny and yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no.
All right. Well, and yes, I make a lot of movie references. I'm sorry. It's just what I do. Rowan, well, we'll find out more about her character next week because the way I understand it, she's becoming a little prominent and I accidentally saw the promo this time. I know I tried to avoid it, but it seems like she's going to be very prominent next episode.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And if you really want to know the character's presumed name, you can do some little Google work. I'm not going to do it for you.
And even then, it's still kind of up in the air. They're like floating between 2 different names I keep seeing.
Oh, yeah. It could be an alias.
Could be.
See what I did?
Oh,
See?
That's good.
Come on. I gotta point that out. I did that right there. I connected the two.
Oh, man, I missed that one. That was good. Kudos. I bow to you, sir. You're a great friend.
I hate you. I hate you so much. Great friend, I hate you. Rowan beats Samar's ass.
Yes, she
like,
did.
Beats her ass. But I want to point out, because there's a lot of people saying, Samar got her ass whooped. Maybe she's not as tough as we thought. She was saving a guy's life and had her hand keeping him alive.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's okay. She didn't get her ass beat. She was sabotaged, is what I would say. You kick somebody when they're down, man. That's cold. It's just not.
Now I got that song in my head. Damn
What's
it. Sabotage. Beastie Boys.
Sabotage. No, do you think, I wouldn't really say that she got her ass kicked because she did.
She got messed up pretty good, though. I mean, she got the bruises on the face.
Right, but it's not like she couldn't fight back because she's, trying to save this guy's life. Like, she jumped in and kept him from snapping his neck.
I'm surprised Rowan didn't take the opportunity to just pull out a gun and cap her. Because she's literally laying there. She's got no way to, defend herself. Rowan could have just taken them both out. So I guess the question is, why didn't Rowan take out Stadler?
Maybe this guy is actually a bad guy, and Rowan was trying to not take him out, but get him. Because I think if she's trying to take him out, he'd already be dead. She needed to get him.
What I think is interesting is that we always jump to the fact that because they're not the task force, we always assume Rowan is the bad guy. Mm-hmm. Maybe Rowan's actually a good person. Maybe she works for the government and she's like NASA or CIA or NSA or something and just special forces.
Could be this top agent that Panabaker's referring to.
Totally could be. And maybe Stadler's a bad guy. Because
Panabaker does refer to her being, it's above her head how she got out. And maybe the person that Tom thinks is Katerina Rostova, actually, maybe Rowan does work with her and they're all connected. And they're just trying, maybe Stadler is the bad guy.
Right.
To try it. Maybe, we don't know. We'll find out more next week.
Kick-ass Navy SEALs trying to find Red this whole time since Red was in the Navy.
Mm-hmm. Well, which leads us to, I do want to make a reference real quick to Kaplan, because even though she really doesn't have a point in this episode, she is at the funeral.
She has a point.
What's her point?
She's at the funeral. The only one at the funeral to make sure it goes over well.
Coincidence?
Wink, wink.
Mm-hmm. And it was a closed casket. Do you think somebody should have said, can we look inside?
No, because then it ruins the mystery. The fact that it's a closed casket just adds on to the fake death play.
Okay.
Because if it's an open casket, answer's there. If it's a cremation, the answer's there. Although technically the cremation wouldn't really be an answer too, because it just could be your dog or something.
Well, my one thing was okay, let's talk about this real quick. Let's assume the death was faked. Let's assume she could actually, I have said a couple episodes ago that if they started laying out the story between Red and her, that I would be more apt to believe that she's actually dead. And they have been doing that. So I'm kind of getting trapped by my own words here, but I still can't believe it. I can't believe she's actually dead because I like Megan Boone a lot. So I'm hoping she's coming back.
Well, and it could be, they might have done some research. I would assume the writer's room did the research. But there might be some religious thing that maybe the casket can't be open in a church. You can do an open casket at the funeral home, or you could do an open casket before at a mausoleum or something before it goes into the grave at the gravesite. Maybe there's a rule in a particular religious sect. I don't know if it was Catholic or whatever based on the ornate structure of the altar there. But say it was Catholic or Orthodox or whatever it would be. Maybe there's a rule that it can't be an open casket in a church. And that's how they can say, we couldn't open the casket, so that's why we can keep our potential fake death thing going.
Or they just wanted to make sure that we don't know for sure.
Well, clearly the audience is not going to know.
You know what? If we open it, then everybody's going to know for sure. If we don't open it, they're still wondering. Maybe that's it. The only thing I would say...
I go back to Walking Dead, because Walking Dead, they faked that one guy from a dead walker's head, so they could fake Liz and make Liz look like Liz without it being Liz, too.
They could, but that takes some serious engineering.
We're talking days of decomposition, man. It could be easy to do.
I don't know if Greg Nicotero is handy for Blacklist. I would like to say that if I were, I guess this brings up the point of who do you think, if it is faked, who do you think is involved now that you've seen the funeral? Because for me, I really debated if Tom would know or not, but this would lead me to believe he absolutely would have to be, just because you don't have a scene where him looking in the casket. If I was Tom, I'd want to see her before the funeral, no matter what the rules are of the church.
Correct.
So I would think that he would have to be involved. Doesn't mean that he is. I'm just saying that's my thinking. I think Kaplan definitely is involved, but it sure seems like to me nobody else is.
And then do we assume that Dr. Nick is dead from Red?
No,
because he wasn't
think
at the funeral? Because I would assume Nick would want to be at the funeral too.
No, I mean, that scene was never alluded to again. It was never brought up again. It comes right before Red's in the opium den, so it could just be him hallucinating, him thinking it through.
That's possible too, yeah. Or Kaplan told Nick to stay away because Nick was so shifty with his hands and stuff when he was sitting there. And maybe Kaplan's trying to protect the lie, so he said, just stay away. Sorry, Nick, you can't be here.
I was kind of surprised he wasn't at the funeral, or if he was, I missed him. I watched it three times.
Absolutely. Was trying to scan that crowd to see who was there and who wasn't. When Kaplan is shown twice, that's important.
Well, plus, I mean, she's a prominent actor. They got to pay her to be there. It's kind of funny that they would pay her to be at an episode where she doesn't talk.
Notice Dembe wasn't there, though.
I did notice that, yeah. Dembe was not there. He's off doing something, but apparently Aram could find him. Mm-hmm. Which we're getting to, man. We're getting to. We got to get to. Okay, Panabaker, shades of Connolly. Do you think there are shades of Connolly here? Do you think she is a rogue or a mole or a cabal member of any kind?
Gosh. See, I don't know how to take that because, like, the cabal is an interesting group. Granted shady, granted somewhat evil, yada, yada, yada. But what's to say all of our government sometimes isn't evil at some point?
If you follow politics lately, it sure seems like
no doubt, right? So is Panabaker evil? Is shady? She works for the government. Of course she is. Is it a bad thing? That's the question. Is she doing anything illegal? That we don't know until the story fleshes out a little bit more.
Yeah. And by the way, I know some people are very passionate about politics. Trust me, I mean everybody. I'm not limiting that to a party.
We live in Illinois. It doesn't get any worse than it does here.
That's true.
When your house is now
go to jail all the time.
When your house is the same value as it was 20 years ago and your property taxes are twice as much, yeah, that's a problem.
Wow, you really just some pain just shot out of you, didn't it?
Fire and brimstone.
Wow, things just got.
I need my own cabal to take some people out.
Oh man, I don't think they play that card again. So I think Panabaker is really working in everybody's best interest. I would think it would be a risk to play that card again. But then again, it would be a risk to fake another death this season. I think they did that too. But Who knows?
If you had someone like a Connolly who's working for the cabal and the government, which technically, oh my gosh, Christine Lottie's character, I can't remember her actual actress, the character's name now. That's going to drive me crazy. Laurel Hitchens, thank you.
Thank you. Look at that. I led you down the path,
I told you were a great friend.
You didn't. You said good, or you're a friend, or whatever the hell you said at the beginning. I'm still bitter about.
So Laurel Hitchens works for the government. So could Cynthia Panabaker not necessarily be like a cabal, but could be a different faction? Maybe that you have a Republican Party, Democratic Party. Could it be the cabal party and the other party?
I guess it could be. Or she could just be working for the government, and she handles a couple top secret divisions. One of them being the post office, the other one being maybe what this lady who we think is Katerina Rostova works for.
Could be. Could be.
Just putting it out there. Possibility, right?
Just remember that just because she works for the government, though, still doesn't mean she isn't shady or bad.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. I get what you're saying, even if I don't necessarily agree. Well, she wants them to not work with or work on Liz's death because maybe she knows the death is faked. She wants them to find Reddington, find out if he is still honoring his deal. She makes comments about she has top agents looking into Keen. Now, she didn't say looking into Keen's death. She just said, basically that she's looking into Keen. So I kind of wonder if maybe she and Kaplan are working together to some degree. I don't know. Basically, I'm trying to create the biggest conspiracy you've ever heard of. That's what I'm trying to do.
And for a show like this, I think a big conspiracy would be awesome. You're like, whoa, conspiracy theory. Never saw that coming.
Well, I think at this point, you can't have too many people know about it because then you're going to have so many characters feeling betrayed by Liz. They'll never trust her again. But if you have maybe even that Liz didn't know that they were going to fake her death. They just did it because they needed to get her away from Red. And then she wakes up and she's like, what is going on? And I can't find my kid and da-da-da. That's a possibility, right? That's a good possibility.
True.
True. Okay, well, they're looking into it. Certain U.S. government missions require certain operatives. Could Rowan be one of those operatives? Working for the mysterious, maybe not quite Katerina Rostova.
Very possible. I would really love to know, like, skill sets. Like, are there certain fighting techniques or certain ways of penetration into a situation that require certain things to happen? So could you tell someone that's a Navy trained versus a Marine trained versus a Street Fighter trained? Because that might leave us some tips on whether or not agent or just a street thug.
How do you mean?
Well, it's like a call out to the audience. You know, if there's anybody out there with Navy or military or training, you know, is there certain fighting skills that one branch learns over the other? And maybe we can pick up on that as the show progresses to see who Rowan really is and what is this group.
Okay, that sounds really good. I'm really curious where this is going. I think it's going somewhere cool. And we've only got 3 episodes to get there, so chop chop. All right, wrestler, Mr. Doing His Job is seriously passionate about doing his job. He snapped on some poor intern just cleaning out the office, man. I assume it's an intern.
I have to say, I loved when Cooper came over and it's like, wrestler, they're just doing their job.
Yeah, exactly.
Of all people, you should understand that.
Exactly. So what do you think about old wrestler? You think Donald's losing it?
Well, of course, it's his partner. And it goes back to, I think, when we first started doing this together in season 2, when we were still wondering at the end of season 1 if potentially Wrestler and Liz could get together. Is this truly him mourning as a partner base, or is this him mourning of, you know, I still kind of love her base kind of thing?
I still maintain the relationship is more like brother-sister and a partner. And I think he's the kind of guy who buries his emotions and like Liz always said, he's just doing his job. So he puts everything down, wears it on his vest. I thought this was a very good episode for showing how the different characters mourn in their very own specific ways. And
absolutely. There's just so much data to go through. Reddington would figure this out by now.
Aram, Mr. Emotional Roller Coaster, yeah. But no, Wrestler, I think, was just, I mean, he kept it buried. He's trying to deal with it. And somebody like him, it comes out as rage or snapping or being short, and focus. He is determined and focused. That's how Wrestler processes mourning. And he's already been through it once with his fiancée. So, I mean, he's already dealt with a heavy loss recently already. So, I mean, I think that's just how he processes things.
So then do you love it when the hair armor comes down finally at the end of the episode when he finds the foot massager?
Yeah, I thought you got to give the guy some moments of understanding where he's relatable, where we as an audience see him as a person, not just Mr. doing his job, you know?
Right.
Otherwise, it's really hard to feel sympathy for the guy.
The softer side of Wrestler.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be soft. Like, I think he's somebody that will continue to be as stoic and focused as he always has been. But I think you got to have those moments where he thinks nobody's looking, he lets his guard down a little bit. That's what I think that was.
Yep, like those moments when he doesn't use hairspray.
Exactly. And then we go to Samar, you know, Miss Puff Puff Pass, huh? Mm-hmm. Apparently she's getting in on the weed action. And
it's legal in D.C.
Apparently she's got glaucoma. You never know. So I thought that was pretty funny, having her and Aram smoking a joint after the funeral. That was pretty clever. And then, of course, you got the ass kicking where she tries to save Stalder. But she also seems very concerned with Wrestler. Like, there's a couple looks and that glance as she's walking out. I don't know. It looks like concern. I think she might still have a little thing for him.
How awkward was that carpool?
Well, I don't know. You saw who sat in the back, right? I mean, obviously he's a gentleman, so he lets the lady sit up front. But still, you saw who sat in the back. Well, but you also saw the connection because they're sharing joints.
Exactly.
So what do you think about Samara? Do you think she's got a little Wrestler afterburn still?
Oh, yeah. I think that there's still maybe a little fire burning there a little bit. My favorite scene, though, is when she walks into the hospital and just kind of flashes the badge. And then she's like, I don't know anything about swaddling, but get some drinks, some bourbon. That'd be great.
I love that. And like, who are you? And she's like, look at my sexy badge. I'm going through.
Right.
Yeah. So, and Red's men were guarding the baby? But not governments.
Yeah, she said Reddington's guys, and Tom's like, yeah, so you have to assume that they're Reddington's guys. But then wouldn't you think Reddington's guys would know who Samar is? That was weird.
Not necessarily. I didn't think it was weird. It was just weird that it would be Red's guys and not like the government guarding the baby.
Oh, why would the government guard the baby?
Because one of their
the baby's not
recent...
the baby's not in mortal danger. The government doesn't know that the baby has got all this threats and people looking for her for the last 20 years or whatever it is. The government would have no reason to guard the baby. So the guards are truly Reddington trying to protect the baby against Tom's wishes.
Interesting. All right. I think the baby is in danger because I guess that's the one thing I'm really confused on, okay?
Why is this family so damn important?
Well, yeah, I get that too. This family is super important.
Katerina, Masha, now the baby. Is it like?
But if knowing Masha was alive was a big bullet or a big target on her head, why wouldn't knowing that Masha had a baby be a target on the baby's head?
DNA, blood sample.
Like, why is Masha so important, but this baby's not? If they're just trying to get...
I'm saying, who's to say the baby's not important?
Well, everybody's been saying the baby's not important. This is only in danger if she's connected to Red, and they're saying, get Red out of here, baby would be fine. Why do they think that if everybody's been going for Masha so much?
Because if they're trying to find Masha, because of the connection to Katerina, and if they can find something that's related to Katerina, then they would have a connection to Katerina, which baby Agnes would be, if we assume that they are all related and from the same line, which I think we got confirmation of during this episode with the Brian Dennehy character.
Which is exactly why I said, why wouldn't they be going after the baby?
Maybe they don't know there's a baby. When she was on the lam, she wasn't showing.
It's kind of hard to miss that she was pregnant, man, if they got all the satellite footage, because she had a big old belly walking around,
but they don't know,
waddling around.
But they don't know that the baby was born. If they have the satellite footage, then maybe they saw that she died, and maybe she died while she was pregnant and lost the baby too. So maybe that's a play to keep the baby hidden.
Oh, maybe they don't know that the baby was born. I got you.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I guess that's possible. But it's just my thinking, like everybody keeps saying that the baby's not in danger. I don't know how that would be if they're just trying to get to the bloodline and, Masha had a baby. That means there's another target on this baby's head. You got to put her in hiding now.
Which is why Red wants to protect her.
Possibly. Okay. I'm just curious. I was just throwing it out there.
But the question goes, what is up with their DNA? Why is this family so damn important?
It's magic. Now, the theory can be that maybe Masha held some kind of important information locked away before her memory was taken from her. So maybe that's why they need Liz so much, and that's why the baby's not a factor.
Right.
I'm just throwing different ideas around. I'm just trying to figure it out. All right, Cooper. Man, Harry, that eulogy. You are the preacher of the post office. You are a Reverend Post Office. I would like to know, Troy, what do you think about that eulogy? Troy, what do you think about that eulogy, son?
Well, and it all works. This is where the ensembleness of the Blacklist is awesome, right? So credit Don DeNoon and any of the other writers that helped write the eulogy itself. And then, of course, Lennox just delivers this like you wouldn't believe. Like I seriously thought he was a preacher. It's just sitting there. It was well done. Well, the emotions came at the right time. Like you felt it like you were in that funeral as if you'd known Liz your whole life. Just brilliant, brilliant, brilliant scene. And to be able to open it up, over the other interchangeable things that are happening, just really, really well shot and really well framed and edited as well, just to give you like the whole sense of what's going on.
Oh, absolutely. I was very moved by it. I've actually, unfortunately, gone to a lot of funerals, and sometimes the eulogies really aren't very good. And I know this one was carefully scripted and everything else, but you know what? Most eulogies are, so it's okay. I think he delivered it extremely passionately. How he cried at the end of it was just beautiful. I'm very blessed to have known Elizabeth. I mean, it really felt like a fatherish figure giving the last talk about his estranged daughter or something like that. I mean, it just felt, obviously their connection is always there, and it felt very deep, very emotional, and it was very powerful. I thought it was a very powerful piece of acting. In an episode full of very strong performances, two in particular stood out for me, and this is one of them.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
One more thing on Cooper. Well, actually, two more things on Cooper. Charlene and he seem to be on the mend. What do you think about this? Are you pro Cooper and Charlene getting back together?
I think they could reconcile their differences. There's no reason to say that they couldn't. I love, though, how Charlene is always thinking about it's all about her when he's like, I really think we should do something for Tom. Cooper could just be like, maybe we, the post office, should do something for Tom. And she automatically makes it about her. I thought that was kind of snotty on her part.
You really don't like Charlene, do you?
I don't. Cheater.
I didn't see it that way. I saw it more from a woman saying, so there's a we, you and I, there's a we. That's what I got. So We're
Yeah,
becoming a we again? That's what I got.
making it all about herself. Like, oh, there's hope for us because I was the one that cheated. So I of course I want to get back with my husband. The husband's going to be like, go burn in hell, lady.
You're so angry, man. Oh, so angry. But if they get back together, I feel bad for that neighbor because I think Cooper's going to task a satellite to take out that house with some frickin' laser beams.
Well, he's got Tom on his side. Tom can just do it for him now.
That's true. Hey, you want to roll in the mud, Tom? Here we go.
Yeah,
got a neighbor I need to take care of.
You didn't do sodding across the street. Just make sure you camouflage yourself before you go in.
If you could put a little bit of an explosive in that, grill that he's got going on, nobody needs to know. Go for it, Tommy. So you ready to roll in the mud? That's where he leaves Tom. He tasks him with a little undercover assignment. How do you feel about that? That Cooper is getting back in the dirt.
I like it. I like it a lot. I like Tom on the run. I like Tom fighting bad guys. I like Tom getting punched in the face. I like dirty Tom. I don't like clean dad Tom.
Okay, which leads us to Tom, and I guess brings up the question. I have always said I don't like Liz and Tom. Like Liz and Tom together, it just irritates me. It bores me. It doesn't work for me, whatever. Not to infuriate people. That's just how I feel. But when they're separate, love both characters. Love Liz, love Tom. How do you feel now that Liz isn't there and Tom is basically his own character now? It's not a Tom with Liz character. It's Tom.
Love it, because here's the catch, though. We talked about, they brought in a baby jumped the shark, blah, 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 blah. And we're like, oh, no, let's just see how it plays out. Blacklist might have a really great solution for the baby. And they had a great solution, right? Liz died. Interesting solution. But now we still have the baby, and the baby's just like, you like Tom struggling because of Tom and his character and the whole, he's not supposed to be able to have emotion because of the St. Regis program. So you're seeing that Tom is kind of getting his redemption, reformity, through this swaddling and taking care of the kid. And it's like, I know what you're saying, Dad, you suck. He's like making a joke about himself. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I hate Tom as that character. I don't want to see Tom the dad. I want to see Tom to shoot people in the face and spy on them and punch them out and get dragged by chains through alleys.
As much as I've said many times, I don't think a baby will be a good ad for the show, and I still think that. I did like seeing Tom in this episode. I thought Ryan Eggle did a really nice job of showing somebody who doesn't know what to do. I mean, I think I can do this. I thought that was a great line. Anybody that's ever been a single dad understands that one. Or actually any new dad can probably understand that one. It's just, you don't know what to do. You never had a baby before. It's all new. And I kind of thought that was sweet and nice. And for an episode that was focused more on the characters, worked great for me.
Because
but maybe I'm also partial to the dad thing. I'm a dad. So what are you going to do?
I'm a dad too. And I was trying to struggle with...
But are you a good one? That's really what it comes down to, Troy. I mean, when it comes to dads, I'm awesome. And you're Troy.
I gave my daughter a new bedroom for her birthday.
So you have to buy her love?
Exactly right, because I'm that bad of a dad. But here's the challenge, is that you have Tom, he's still in the hospital, so you're like, why the hell are they in the hospital? Then Red mentions, of course, that she was born prematurely, and you're like, okay, fine, she's premature, she's in the NICU, whatever. And I'm a dad, I'm a single dad, I don't have anybody else to watch the kid. People might be coming for my kid, I don't know. I get these guys out here from Reddington, so I don't really trust them. And then he just decides to go take photographs in the middle of the night. Who's watching the kid?
Red's guys, apparently.
Maybe.
Apparently he's just Rick Grimes, and he just takes off and leaves this kid with random strangers. That's what's going on. I don't know. It's
a brand new baby, premature. You don't leave the kid alone, which is why the kid doesn't work in the story. The kid's got to go.
Yeah, well, not in the horrible sense.
Not in a horrible sense. Like give it to adoption or find Tom's mom or grandma or something.
Hide the kid just like they had to do with Liz to keep her safe.
Yeah, give it to Dom.
Well, you could do that, or you could hide the kid to keep her safe, and that way we don't have to see the kid.
Right.
Then we don't have wacky going to preschool storylines, things like that. You know what I mean? In a couple of years.
And then it gets to be like season 6,
and all kindergarten of a sudden, cop happens,
and Red passes away, and Red's like,
whoa.
I'm making a stretch here. Just let me go with it for a minute.
No, shut up. No. We're not doing that. I don't want to watch that show. That's a dumb show. Stop it.
I'm just saying, I'm playing off of your idea that Tom sends the kid away, right? So maybe Red is Liz's father, Tom is Agnes's father, and then at some point Red passes the baton to Tom and says, hey, you know what? I took care of Liz as best I could. Now you need to go get back in your daughter's life because I am your father. And you get the whole thing gets revealed at that point. And then you can have a whole spin-off show of Tom doing the same thing all over again.
Do you just want to have at least 45 different theories going at the same time? Is that really what your goal is here?
Yeah, that's because then people will forget about my other one, because then when it comes true, it would be like, oh, crap, Troy was right.
God. There is one thing. I do like that Tom admitted that he didn't know his parents, which seems important. I don't know why. Read a press release. But I always love when characters have like important conversations where they deliver important information, then just get up and leave.
Right.
To make a dramatic excerpt. When he's like telling this guy, this doctor obviously needs to find out personal information for the baby. Tom like gives that small revelation. Didn't know her parents. That's why, we're family. And then gets up to call Cooper. He didn't get a call. He got up and left to make a call. I'm like, what the hell? If I was that doctor, I would have said, hey, you son of a bitch, get on here and sit down. I'm talking to you about your kid.
By the way, Aaron, I'm allergic to nuts.
What? Where did that come from?
I just got up and walked away.
Oh, yeah, there you go. It's one of those things that TV shows do it all the time because it's very dramatic, and it just makes me smack my head and go, what? Why are you walking away? This guy needs important information. Sit your ass down. Cooper can wait. You don't need to go out going rogue just yet.
And see how that works? There was that little bit of tension where you thought I might have passed out because I ate a nut.
No, it was really just like, what the hell are you talking about is mostly what I was thinking. Still am, actually. Still am.
Moving on.
Okay. What's that?
Moving on.
All right, let's go to Red. Yeah, that's right. Red is not the final character this week. Red is the third to last. Yeah, because we always go by the last character is the one, because I do this part of the format, is the one that I consider the most important character of the episode. Agreed. And Red is third. So going to Dom, it turns out that Red is going to meet Dom, Papa Rostova, Grandpa, because he's looking for a way forward. He thought he could protect Liz, but he couldn't anticipate this threat, even though he's anticipated every other threat. What do you think about, one, Red leads us to, the past two episodes, we've gotten a lot about the backstory. So he leads us to Dom, but he never, ever, ever says, he's Liz's father or anything else. And of course, Dom doesn't either. And I know people get frustrated when characters play with dialogue where that conversation should happen, but it doesn't. You know what? It's not going to happen. So there's unfortunately, it's one of those things we're going to have to let go. Let it go.
Let it go.
But how do you feel about going to this path? Red meeting Dom and going to Dom and telling him about Liz?
I think it's interesting. I was really shocked that we actually got to meet Katerina's father, because you would assume at this point in the storyline, because Liz is aged to where she is and Red's aged to where he is, there's a possibility that great-granddads could still be alive at this point. But the fact that we were first introduced to Papa Rostova via the locket, and now here we're seeing Papa Rostova in the flesh, I think that's very, very interesting that they decided to reveal that much information, that there is a guy who had a daughter, Katerina. Interesting that they live in the United States, because this whole time I always thought that Katerina died like in Russia or abroad, not in the United States. And then this guy has pretty good English, so he's been living in the States for a while. So the question becomes, is Dom actually more American, and was his wife Russian? I'm not sure. There's just a whole lot of family dynamic here. Talk about the farm and the buttermilk and so on and so forth. So it's very interesting to see the relationship that Red has with Dom and how much information and how much they go back and forth, the line that they share when Dom's talking to Red at the kitchen table. And he's like, there's people out there that are relying on you. And then he starts laughing. God help them. Mm-hmm. I thought was very, very telling of what he thinks of Red. But at the same time, he has this kind of fondness for Red because he doesn't kick him out on the curb.
Yeah, and I think it's funny that this whole episode, even when Red is having important conversations, we're focused on the other characters, which isn't normal for a Blacklist episode. Usually, if Red is a prominent character, or prominent in the mindset of us, the audience, we're focused on what he's doing, where I think this episode, it's reverse. I cared more about what Dom was doing and what Aram was doing. So it was kind of interesting for me. I felt like Red was helping the plot move forward, but he was doing it not from the standpoint that he usually does. Like he's he's somebody facilitating the conversation as opposed to having the conversation. That makes sense.
Agree.
We also find out apparently that Red is quite the piano tuner and key replacement technician as he finally fixes Dom's piano. So apparently there's absolutely nothing Red cannot do. Good to know.
He created that piano key from scratch. He's a woodworker too.
He is a magician is what he is, my friend. He's a magician. He smiles a whole bunch when he's looking through Liz's old drawings, and I think this is what we should probably mention because some people are saying this cements him as Liz's father. Some are saying it cements him as not his father. Some people are saying it cements that there is no shipping option. How do you feel about this whole thing? I feel like sometimes I do think the writers play with all the theories in play a little too much. But here it felt very, very focused. To me, and I'm not trying to aggravate any people that are Listenton shippers, because I know you guys have that theory and it's very strong in your heart. Everything in this episode alluded to him being a father or fatherish figure. When he is having the conversation with Dom, and Dom, basically says, "You think you understand me? You think, you think because Masha's dead, you can understand me." I mean, that is alluding to you think you feel a father's pain, right? In my mindset, that's what it's saying.
Right. And I think that the challenge that you have here in this conversation is there's a lot that alludes to the fact that he could be the father, but at the same time, he has that tirade conversation with him that says, "You don't know how I feel. You can't know how I feel." And because of that, then that also leads to, well, then you're not a father, because why could you share in that grief? Because you can't possibly understand a father's loss for a daughter like I can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, do you think, man, I always feel bad because I know there's some people that have really, really strapped on to the Lizzington, that Red loves Liz in a romantic way, and I know they feel very passionate about their theory on this. How do you feel about the writers going back and forth where there's a possibility of that making sense, and and then in other episodes where there's no way it can make sense? I guess
it depends on how you view what Reddington is at the end of the day. Real Reddington, imposter Reddington. I mean, that's the fundamental. That's a quintessential question: is Raymond Reddington? At the end of the day, I think that's still up for debate.
I don't. I don't think. I think this episode would put that to bed already, because you got Dom. I assume Dom Rostova, who, well, no, I guess because it could be Liz, or Liz's mom was married, so that could be a married name, whatever. Dom. Katerina Rostova's dad, yeah. Definitely her dad. He definitely knows Red and acknowledges Red, knows him on sight. There was no debate, so I don't think it's a facial reconstruction thing. I think that puts that theory to bed. He is Raymond Reddington. But
then technically speaking, his wife, I'm going to draw a blank on that one off the top of my head, started season 2, said that, hey, you look a little bit different. Mm-hmm. So she recognized him, but also noticed that he looked a little bit different. So could be really good facial reconstruction.
I guess it could be. I guess if you want to go that way. But then you've got this, they have a personal relationship. You can see that Red and Dom have had conversations before. They know each other well. I think this puts to bed both your theory, your Lizzie's mom theory. I think it kills that one. And it also kills the Reddington is not Reddington theory. I think it kills both of those in one fell swoop. That's what I think. And it also, in my mind, very clearly, and this is my perspective, I'm not trying to downplay Lizzington shippers. I understand you guys are very passionate about it, and every time we talk about this, I always get some arg mail, but I mean, it's an honest point that is what is alluded to in this episode. It's exactly what Dom is alluding to, is that you think you feel how I feel because you feel as though she was like your daughter. You don't understand. And I think that's what they're trying to paint that picture to. Now, they never say that Red is her father. It's never said. So it's definitely, all theories are still in play, except for the two that I think were put to bed. Yours about Lizzie's mom and the imposter theory. I think those are both put to bed.
Yeah, I would agree. And and I don't want to put a nail in the shipper's coffin.
Wait. You would agree? That means that you agree that your Lizzie's mom theory is dead.
I thought Lizzie's mom theory was dead last week. I'm just keeping it going because it's fun.
Okay. All right.
Okay. I mean, clearly he's got some kind of connection to Katerina. Now you can't definitively say from the episode, is it because he's remembering his own feelings, from my theory, or if he's remembering a sister's feelings, or if he's remembering a lover's feelings. He's looking longingly through that trunk and trying to determine things about Katerina that he's trying to remember or hold on to, which you would assume he's going through things that might have been Masha's also, if it wasn't for Dom coming in and saying, you don't have a right to go through those things. Mm-hmm. That's all I have left of her. And I have to go back and watch it a third time. Maybe I'm mixing up the pronouns in my head. Maybe he was specific and said you can't go through Katerina's things. But I thought he said you couldn't go through her things. That's all I have left of her, which means it could be vague, and it could be Lizzie's things also. Because remember, he never had a chance to see his granddaughter, so maybe this is all he has of his granddaughter is what's in this box. Mm-hmm. Because the picture was the specific nod to Lizzie's fantasy that she told Red at the theater. I just want to be there with my husband, with my little girl between our two hands, walking through the park, and literally that picture is the same picture. Mm-hmm. So that could mean that stuff is Lizzie's things, unless Dom specifically said Katerina, and I do not remember. So
no, I'll
pull up my blacklist card and throw it in the thing. But it's Naomi was the name I was forgetting.
Yes,
so I'll get my blacklist card back.
I think it's definitely Liz's stuff that Red is looking through, the pictures and everything else. I still don't think Red is her dad. And I think that's already been put to bed in my opinion. I've said uncle for a long time, and I still think uncle. I think Dom is maybe Red's dad, or was Liz's dad's brother, and therefore would know Dom very well because they're still family because his brother was married to his daughter, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So both options would actually work in my mind. But I definitely I do think that the writers are, and I know some people have been frustrated with the writers. I think they're trying to eliminate some theories, or at least bring theories bringing it to a bottleneck. Like there's so many out there. I think they're eliminating a few of them just to try to bring it in. Like, hey, here are really the only options left. And the last few episodes, I think, have really been trying to do that. Do you agree, or am I just off base?
Well, Again, you have to look at it at face value. If you're believing what you're seeing in the show at face value, then yes, there's clearly answers, storyline, fill in the blanks that's taking place over the last couple of episodes, which we both said, wouldn't it be great at the end of season 3 if they blew the whole thing out of the water and the big reveal really wasn't actually the big reveal? It's just the start of a bigger Pandora's box that's now open and unraveling, and that's really what the show is all about. I think that would be a fantastic way to end the third season. But at the same time, they're also being very choosy about the words and the pronouns and the way they deliver the information.
Yeah,
because that Katerina, the box, for the longest time, even second time through, I thought he was looking at Katerina's stuff because he's at Dom's house, so why would it be Lizzie's stuff? But maybe it was Lizzie's stuff. And
No, I thought it was Lizzie's stuff from the get-go, man. I never thought Katerina. I mean, I guess it would make sense that Dom is her dad. Could be. And they definitely didn't clarify, so you can look at it either way. But I thought Dom was involved when she was very, very little, so he remembered, so he would keep all that stuff as a memory of his granddaughter. And that's just how I saw it. But we were talking about Red, and we end up talking about Dom.
It makes it confusing, right? Because now you have Katerina, who's dead, supposedly, and you have Liz, allegedly, and you have Liz, who's dead, allegedly. So now you can literally talk about both of them at the same time, and you never know who you're talking about. So all they did was just confuse it even more.
Yeah, that's the part that really irritated a lot of people.
Yeah.
I totally understand that. And at the end, he finally comes, after, admitting that he never underestimates the power of glitter, finally comes to terms with what he needs to do. Which, we've talked, even when we were talking about Red, we ended up talking about Dom. So let's really talk about Dom. Brian Dennehy is a great character actor. Cocoon, FX, and of course First Blood. That's where I first saw him, which is why I reference him the most, because he played a villain in that movie, and he plays a villain very relatable. Like, you feel like he's doing this for the betterment of his town, but ultimately he's seen as a bad guy. And, he ends up pissing off John frickin' Rambo. You can't do that. And it ends up, that's where the Rambo character started.
Right.
For people that have never seen that movie, man, I highly recommend it. It's a great thriller. But he's been around for years, and he's always been a powerful character actor. If he showed up, you know, he took the screen, just owned it. And I haven't seen him in a few years. I don't know if he's been laying low or what, but here he is, man, and playing Jane Spader's somehow related, maybe possibly
father/father-in-law
yeah, plus whatever,
great uncle,
but definitely Katerina's dad and Liz's grandpa. I thought was fantastic. You know, and last week we've seen this for the episodes are building off each other. Last week we saw the inscription on the locket, and I wanted the question to be last week: is Liz's grandpa still alive? Because the inscription said Papa Rostova. Turns out it would have been a great question, Troy. You know, you said it wouldn't have been. I think now I proved that it would have been a great question.
Well, I think it would have been obvious because, like you always said, the Blacklist pays stuff off very quickly. And here again, once again, we see Papa's locket, and boom, there's Papa the next episode. So they're still holding true to that.
They are. They absolutely are. And he learns he has a great-granddaughter, and they have that battle. But here's one important thing that he said. When he's talking to Red, he said, she's gone because of choices you made for both of them. So as far as I'm concerned, you killed my entire family. So no, you're not like me. How do you feel about that? Because it seemed like he has a begrudging respect for him regardless, or that he considers him family in some way, which is how I see it. I don't necessarily mean that everybody should see it that way. It's just how I see it. How do you feel?
I don't. His whole demeanor is weird because he's angry, but he's not angry. So I don't know how to read Dom in that situation. So I guess I'm looking at you more to find out how you read it, because by the end of the episode, it's almost like, you know, I hate that guy, but I really love that guy. And then he makes a complete mess out of his life, but yet he still, for some reason, has this like twinkle in his eye for him. Like, you know, I didn't know you were coming, so I guess I'll go buy you some groceries and I'll buy you the scotch. And, you know, I laugh when you fix my piano and I'll start playing piano again for the first time. But yet he hates him so much at the same time because of what he did to his family. It's just a very interesting, deep character. Well,
here's what I would say. I don't think that Red is his son because he made the comment, you killed my entire family. There you go. Okay. But I do think
maybe he's referencing that, but maybe they had a falling out. Maybe because of everything you did, you were a son that was dead to me. Like, why are you here?
No, I'm not saying it's not possible. I just don't see it that way. That line to me says, everybody that I had is dead.
Because of you.
Because of you. But the only way that I would, if I was him, and I'm trying to look at it respectively, the only way that I could see it making sense that he would still tolerate him is because he still felt like he was family, because he was brother to the man Katerina loved. And maybe he also loved her. I mean, there's like a little triangle, brothers love the same woman kind of thing, maybe. I don't know. And then because he's Liz's uncle, takes her under her wing, which is kind of, my whole theory is uncle. That's what I'm going with. So everything I hear, just like you guys listening, everything you hear, kind of you try to place it into whatever your theory is, and that's how I'm reading it.
Yeah, this was clear that he has been part of this family for a long time, not just protecting Lizzie all these years, but even before that, because you wouldn't have this kind of a relationship where you can just show up at the dude's house unannounced and then have him still go buy you a single malt from the store.
Exactly. That's the way I see it. And I do like that, man. And you could tell that Red obviously respects this guy and to a degree almost maybe fears him or whatnot, because, I mean, he calls him a selfish prick. And he's like, all these sacrifices, shot to hell, you selfish prick. So really, I did all this because you told me it was the best thing to do, and it meant nothing. I could have spent 30 years being her grandpa. You cost me that, is how he sees it.
And then when he has the conversation about the Arab boy from Delaware, love that line.
Yeah.
That he's literally like, he's scolding him like a father, which is then where you sit there and you go, gosh, could he be Katerina's brother? And is the uncle thing really true? Because that scene made it look like he was just as much a dad to Red. And is that a father-in-law? Is that a father? You know, but you wouldn't get that kind of a powerful speech from someone that didn't care or love you.
In some way, yeah.
Even with the sarcastic, like, God help them because they have to rely on you, you selfish prick. But that's what actually gets him to go and actually meet up with Iran.
See, for me, and like I said, you base what you hear on whatever your theory is, and Uncle's always been my theory for a long time. But the dialogue absolutely works for that to me. killed my entire family, so therefore he's not his son. But you're familia because you were my son-in-law's brother or whatever. You were the one that said that you could take care of Katerina. Or, I'm sorry, take care of Liz. You could make her be safe because of whatever Katerina and her husband were into. The husband died, therefore that's connected. All these things make sense. So uncle, for me, is where I'm landing. That's where I'm landing. And he says the thing that I thought was beautiful. I love that girl enough to let her go, which is more than you can say. How do you take that one? Now, that's where Lizzington shippers, they got excited again. They're like, see?
Yeah, but if you love someone enough that you want to let them go and set them free, and they'll come back to you if they were yours. So, again, is that the question, is Liz coming back if Fred loves her?
Yeah. Once again, Troy's question. Troy's question. I swear. I'm going to get that on a T-shirt. The question is Troy's question. You hate me too.
I do.
These are honest. There are honest people out there depending on you. God help them. God help them. That's where he starts laughing. I thought that was a great conversation.
So funny.
But at the very end, when he sees that the piano is fixed, he's all smiles. I think he feels happy to have seen Red. Do you agree?
Oh yeah, I think he's got that kind of glimmer, like that son of a bitch. You want to hate him, but you just love him for some reason, and then you can see where the Lizzie flip flop comes from in the genealogy.
Oh man, I gotta say, please bring Brian Dennehy back. I think he's just gold in this episode, and he's just such a great actor. I just love him. Okay, well, Aram. He is the final character. Amir Arison is... I've talked about this before, and I know last week we talked about how great Jane Spader did. And he did beautiful in last week's episode. And this week, as I was starting to say, and then I cut myself off, Amir Arison has often been, to me, the heart of the show. And I know... Liz and Red, to a lot of people, are the heart of the show, and I don't dispute that. I'm saying that of all the characters that I identify with the most, or relate to the most, or feel the most, I would feel the most fear for injury. Aram is the one that I seem to care about the most. And it's not, I love Dembe. Dembe is the coolest character. Aram is the character that I think of when I think of heart and feeling and emotion, because it seems like he has become the central focal point for everyone. That is the guy they go to, they entrust, they ask for, they have real discussions with, heartfelt discussions, and he just blew me away this episode. He ran a gamut of emotions. It starts with a joint, don't judge, I'm super stressed, typical Aram levity, where he is just trying to relax the situation, make a joke, typical humor. And then you get to the funeral, where he one-ups the eulogy that I loved with his words on Liz, where he all the world will be in love with night and pay no worship to the garish sun. Shakespeare, Dr. Seuss, Dim Sung, Beyonce, wooden foot massagers, and then they were friends. That whole thing just made my eyes rain a lot. A lot. How did you feel? I've been talking for a whole bunch. So how do you feel about the opening of Aram?
I love it because even in that speech, Aram actually shows you a bit of who Aram's character is too, because he's like, oh, and it's Shakespeare, and it's Dr. Seuss, and it's Dim Sum, and it's Beyonce. It's like the heavy-handed and the light-handed at the same time, which is how you see his character throughout the entire episode. You have the joint smoking, like, don't judge me, and then you have the, oh my God, my world's falling apart. Reddington would figure this out right away. And then you have the, surprise, but I don't like to be rude.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where I know that you often refer to Alias, right?
Yep.
And what was the character's name?
Marshall,
thank you. Marshall in that character was always he was just a light sense of humor, the levity of the show. Like, he would throw in the jokes and make people laugh, and he had a little bit of heart.
Your point, Aaron.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Am I rambling?
No, that was just my Alias throw in. Like,
I didn't get it.
You were being the Marshall.
Gotcha. So, I think when the show started, the first year and a half or whatever, it was really that Aram was, he was that character.
Right.
He's deeper
he's
now. Yeah, he's way deeper now.
Way
deeper now. And a lot of that is the writing, sure. They're definitely writing him. And, he's not a prominent focal point of every episode, but that's how well he's being played, because even, when he gets little pieces of him, you want more of him. And that's a good actor to me. I've always said that I love watching actors work. I love the technical process, and I love the acting. And Amir Arison's performance here demonstrates once again why we as fans love that character more than a lot of the other characters. It's just the way he presents it. The writing is strong for everybody, in my opinion. But Amir just plays him as such a vivid 3D character that I feel like I know him. And I am not one of those people that thinks characters are real. But I'm not that fan. And I'm nothing against those people that do, because people love these characters. I'm one of those people, I see an actor playing a role, but I get immersed in Aram because of the way he's played. He becomes a real character to me, and that's really hard to do for somebody as cynical and bitter as I am. And Amir does it. And in this episode, he just nailed everything. He has this where surprise you were talking about, where he hunts Red down through Dembe, and he stands literally toe-to-toe with James Spader and crushed it. He talks about the speech over an empty grave. I'm here to collect. I mean, he crushed it. He stood toe-to-toe, literally jammed his foot in there and stood toe-to-toe with James Spader and crushed it, where many actors, they'd be fine. They do good. They wouldn't crush it. They wouldn't stand out against James Spader, because people still leave the show going, man, Spader was awesome in that. Did you see that scene with whoever? Spader was great. No, people left this scene and go, man, Amir was awesome in that. He crushed it.
And
that's an accomplishment.
And I want to call out the people on Twitter, Facebook, or whoever that keep saying, like, the writers don't know what they're doing and the writers need to change the writers and blah, 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 blah. This sequence right here tells you that there is a super master plan, because the fact that they would bring that back in this way to have Aram call on Raymond's debt ties so many things into the show. Not only does it tie back in that sequence when they're standing over the open grave, but you could tie all the way back to season 1 in The Good Samaritan, when Red is literally like, I'm going to shoot you, Aram, if you don't track this stuff down. And it's the confidence that Red has in Aram at that point. The relationship between these two characters is probably one of the most interesting in the show to see how it plays out, because it's bordering on potentially, how he feels about Dembe in some ways.
To a degree, yeah. Yeah, I could see that. But you didn't speak to it. Do you feel the same way, or is that just how I cling to the character or Amir's performance?
If ever there was a time when you would say, I'm in love with the character because the character is the person and you humanize him, I think this role for Amir Arison is Amir in a lot of ways. And because we got to talk to him, I feel like you're connecting with Amir more than you're connecting with Aram in some ways, because Aram's character is so flushed out and so put together. I mean, this is like, supporting Emmy for Amir, hashtag.
Yeah, I mean, if they submit an episode, this is probably the one I would definitely submit. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It
won't help Spader's case in this episode, but if they could submit one for every actor, then this would be the one you would submit for Amir Arison for sure.
Absolutely. And I just thought it was great. I thought you've got the emotional Aram. You've got the
funny Aram.
Funny Aram. You've got the powerful Aram. You got the Aram standing up for himself and getting aggressive and assertive, which is something he doesn't typically do. And
you have Techie Aram too.
Well, absolutely. He comes back and he finally gets back in I got to do my job mold.
Right.
Mode, not mold.
You figure out the whole dark web thing, and it took you this long to figure out dormant satellites? And it's actually Wrestler that gives you the clue, like everywhere around the Earth.
He was sad. I do like when he figured that out and they're all watching, watching the de-encrypted information or the encrypted information, however you look at it. And they're all like putting things together. They understand now. I'm like, what are you seeing that you understand all this now? Because all I see are ones and zeros.
Well, I don't think they were looking at the information. It was clearly Wrestler that was like, where could they be storing all this stuff? I mean, is it like servers around the globe? And he's like, no, it's over the globe.
Yeah.
Transition writing.
Good. Well, we end on Red arriving. Is there anything more on Aram or Amir's performance that you want to talk about? Other than apparently we're going to give them all the Emmys.
I just love the fact that when he gets to the apartment, like Aram doesn't even feel like to put on a jacket or comb his hair or anything. He's just like, yeah, sure, I'll open up the door for Raymond Reddington. Which goes to show you that he is now confident in his relationship with Raymond, which is a complete juxtaposition to where he was in season 1 when he basically pissed his pants trying to find that big routing number.
Right. And I will say lastly, a tribute to a good supporting character is if when they're off screen, you want them there, and when they are there, they always deliver. I think him and Dembe always deliver. And I'm definitely not trying to say anything that the other actors don't. I'm just saying, for me personally, those two are always the standouts. And Amir has really just knocked it out of the park this episode. He just blew me away, man. I was really impressed. I was very just grateful that he was in this episode, because I think when you take time away from Spader, that's pretty impressive. And you've got two actors that did great against Spader. You've got Brian Dennehy, obviously, an accomplished long-time career. And then you've got Amir, who's making a name for himself. And I hope this leads to bigger and better things, man, because I was really impressed.
Agree.
We end on Red arriving at Aram's apartment. I'm here to pay my debt to you, Aram. I think he's back in the game. No more opium, Red. You think?
Yeah, he told him, put on your bike helmet. We got to go to work.
You love that line.
That line was so great. It was like served up.
God. I think it's great. I hope they're going to work in unison. Maybe we can get like a three-way buddy cop drama next week where you've got Aram and Dembe and Red all going rogue.
3 to go.
Ready to go. Okay, is there anything more in this episode? I think we talked about it a lot. Holy cow. And I know that when there's a lot of people up in arms with some of the things because of, whatever their theory is, that's what we love about the show. It makes it passionate. Now, I love this episode. It's definitely not a typical Blacklist episode. I don't think the last 2 episodes have really been typical Blacklist episodes. Has that bothered you in any way that they've kind of, for this final run, they've gotten a little bit away from the formula?
No, I think this one was way more than last week, obviously. This one was still, they had, we need this thing, we got to find it in order to track down the bad guy, it's got a number, post office is back in play. This is a pretty standard Blacklist episode. It's no different than Ariak Kane and the Dark Web. Very similar to that kind of episode, I think.
Okay. I'm just curious. All right, well, it is time to... Don't worry, the show's not over, so don't go anywhere. But please remember to download the Blacklist Exposed app for iOS and Android. A lot of you have been, actually. Spreaker's been doing pretty well with that.
Yeah.
And be sure to go even deeper into the mystery of Red Reddington by visiting our partner Blacklist site, theblacklistnbc.com. Be sure to check out the Blacklist live page for the pre- and post-show Blabs, hosted by our boy Rory from New Jersey, who is not mad at me for my Jersey comments last week. Thank God. Because if ever there was going to be a hit put out, it would have been last week.
No doubt.
Great fun had with great Blacklist fans, so you don't want to miss it.
That's right. And thanks again to everyone that nominated us for the podcast awards. As soon as we get notified, as the voting closed on April 30th, or the nomination period closed on April 30th, as soon as we get told if we're in, we will let you know, because then the voting process begins, so you can help us actually win a trophy. That'd be fun.
But just being nominated is very cool.
It is. It's very, very great.
And if we don't...
It comes directly from the fans. The fans are the ones that spoke up and said, we want our show nominated. Because it is your show. It's not our show. It's your show.
Absolutely. Well, it's definitely not my show, because it's always Troy. I'm just kidding. Calm down.
We thank you for the nominations.
There you go. You're learning. I like it. You're growing as a person.
Friend.
Great friend. Just great. But seriously, even if we don't get a nomination, I just want to say thank you to everybody that did vote, because it really does mean a lot to us. We'll be back with this week's Red's Rhetoric right after this. Are you sick of the endless, poorly realized remakes as we are? Then take a listen to Remake This Movie Right, where we take a classic movie, figure out what works and what doesn't, throw a dash of humor at it, and then we craft our own remake. So by the end of every episode, we will remake this movie right. Recently featured as a podcast to listen to by the AV Club, you can find us at RemakeThisMovieRight.com or your podcast app of choice. Every movie you love will get a remake someday, and only you can make it better.
Welcome to Red's Rhetoric, that part of the show where we feature 2 of the best scenes of the night, featuring Raymond Red Reddington. Now, last week, 72% of you felt that you always have a choice making your decisions, so Red Choice won last week. This week, our first clip comes when Red is playing arts and crafts.
You have no right to go through her things. And that's my coat!
I was just imagining young Katerina. covered in glitter. As an adult, it's easy to dismiss this stuff as girlish frivolity. You forget the wonder it creates. Light captured, secret wishes evoked. It renders even the darkest days sparkly. Never underestimate the power of glitter.
Stop it.
Stop what?
Stop torturing me.
That was never my intention.
What are you doing out here? These boxes are all I have. All I have left of my daughter.
I'm sorry, Dom, I understand.
No, you don't. You don't understand. You think because Masha is dead, now you can understand me? You can share my misery?
I feel bereft, just like you.
No, not just like me. She's gone because of choices you made for both of them. First Katerina, and then Masha. As far as I'm concerned, you killed my entire family. No, you're not like me.
Our second clip this week comes when Dom shares his story about life on the farm.
How do you drink this stuff?
We drank it with every meal on the farm when I was a boy. But we had cows, and we made our own. In the summers, we made buttermilk pops in the freezer. Kept us all from passing out.
So buttermilk reminds you of home.
I overheard your conversation with the Arab boy.
He's from Delaware. You won't be troubled again with unexpected visitors. I know how you value your privacy.
Why didn't you go with him?
What would be the point? There's nothing I could do that would really matter.
Cry me a river. What the hell are you really doing here? You gave me the news about Masha. What do you want from me?
A way forward. I can't live for long with what I feel inside. I don't see how anyone can.
You said it, chum. Look around you. You call this living? After I lost my daughter, I crawled into the wilderness like a mortally wounded animal. Get as far away from the pack as I could to run out the clock. Run out the clock and die at. If you came for a survival manual, you won't find it here. But you've got one thing I haven't had for a long time. You've got a reason to walk out that door. It sounds to me like there are honest people out there who are depending upon you. God help them. God help them.
Dom, you've always had a good reason to walk out the door.
Which scene was your favorite this week? If you think glitter does have special powers, vote red glitter. And if you are having trouble getting out the door, vote red reason.
All right, now we're back with Special Agent Intel. What you guys thought who watched this recent episode, what you thought of the recent episode. Tim wrote in and said, Red is not Lizzie's mother, and hello, gentlemen. I am a longtime listener, first-time emailer. Thanks for listening and emailing. You two should pat yourselves on the back for such an informative and entertaining podcast.
Well, thank you,
Great job. Hang on, I'm gonna read right back. All right, I got it. Thank you, Tim. I have a theory for you guys to chew on. Give it the skeptic's litmus test and see how it holds up. Raymond Reddington and Katerina Rostova had an affair that produced a baby girl. Katerina's husband found out about the affair and didn't take it well. During a fight late one night, Raymond and Mr. Rostova engaged in a conflict so horrible that Masha Rostova ended up shooting and killing her father. Raymond Reddington, her father, Raymond Reddington. I just read that wrong. Sorry, Tim. Katerina Rostova was devastated and killed herself by walking into the ocean. Mr. Rostova then became Red Reddington and grew a large criminal empire. In summary, Red isn't Lizzie's father, as he truthfully told her, but he does have a deep connection to her. Red Reddington is really Rostova. This theory allows Red's statement that he would never lie to Lizzie to be true. It also fits in with many of the confusing conversations that have taken place over the 3 seasons. In the most recent episode, Katerina's father kept referring to Katerina as my daughter, which seemed like a slap in the face to Red. He also chastised Red for believing that losing Masha would put Red on the same level as a father losing his daughter. I definitely got a father-in-law vibe from parts of the conversation. Take a read and see if I'm way off base or getting a nibble off on the hook. Keep up the excellent work. I hope NBC allows me to listen for years to come. Tim.
So hope NBC lets you watch for years to come so you can listen for years to come.
There you go. Well, I think he said it fine. You just had to throw a little.
I'm just saying, NBC should make us the official one. I'm just saying. We're listening. We're here. Give us a call.
I don't want to be owned by the man, but I'll take it. I'll take the check.
For sure.
Yeah.
Just say at the end of the episode, for more Blacklist, listen to Troy and Aaron.
I like it. Good luck with that. Let me know how that works out for you.
In the trailer voice guy's voice.
What do you think in Wayne Henderson's voice? So what do you think of this Tim's theory?
It's possible. Yeah, I think we kind of nibbled on that one already, to use his words.
Mm-hmm. I do. I like it. I think that's a very plausible theory. There's several still in play, believe me. But Lizzie's mom, definitely not. It's dead. Put a bullet in it. Drown it in the ocean. I don't want to hear it anymore. Even though we're probably going to hear it somewhere.
Kelly wrote in and said, did anyone notice when Red was in the barn, it looked like he was making some kind of miniatures? I believe that is what he took to the woman in the wheelchair, who he seemed to be in love with. He finally got to tell her he avenged the person who hurt her. And I could see where you would see that, but I meant what he was actually making was the piano key.
Right.
But it does beg a question of, could he have made the miniatures himself, knowing that he's such a good craftsman now?
That's a good point.
Good point.
Love the podcast, Troy and Aaron. Thanks so much, Kelly. That's very nice. Thank you. Crystal said, I loved it. I made it through Cooper without crying, but Aram the whole episode had me in complete waterworks mode. Wrestler Navabi and Aram in the car was great and very unexpected. I could have watched Red and Dom's conversations all day. Me too. It was a great tug of war emotionally between them. They highlighted the team dealing with it throughout the whole episode. Was done really well. That's 3 great episodes in a row for me. I am a happy Blacklist viewer.
Us too, Crystal.
Us too, yep.
Kim said, so Dom and Red are obviously well connected. Red is very at home with him, which begs the question, are they related? Is Dom his father as well as Katerina's? Could Red be a half-sibling to Katerina? Is Red Dom's brother? Possible. If they were only compatriots, would he be so comfortable in Dom's home? I just get a really strong feeling that they are all family in some way.
I guess
I
he
got
could.
that song in my head too.
Yeah, he could technically be
family.
Dom's much younger brother, because I think there's quite a difference in age between Dennehy and Spader.
I think so too, but it's possible. Possible.
Yeah, absolutely, it's possible. There's definitely, to me, from watching the episode, there's a family connection of some kind.
Yes.
Because there's no way I, as a dad, would let this mofo in my house if I thought he was responsible for my kid's death if there was no family connection.
Correct.
Yeah. We'd be scrapping. Jim. Hey, guys. I've been listening to Aaron on the Hollywood Outsider. Ho for life. We call them hoes. Don't judge. For years, and must have missed that you were doing this Blacklist podcast. Well, I mentioned it several times, Jim. As a huge fan of the what's that? As a huge fan of the Blacklist starting this past year, I had to check out this podcast. Well, I am finally all caught up with every episode, and this is the first time I can write in as an episode aired. Very cool, man. Love the banter you two have on the podcast, particularly fond of Dum Dum and Lizzie's mom. How much of that is scripted? And Aaron, I feel like you get to be more you on the Blacklist, or am I just drinking again?
Definitely drinking.
I'll come back to that. Okay, anyway, on this recent episode, how much has the spin-off news impacted your enjoyment? Because for me, it really did affect it, as I always knew On the Top was going to show up. Yeah, I would agree with that. Regardless, I love the show, and kudos on the podcast, guys. To be honest, I was listening to another one, and they just bleep. He didn't say bleep. He actually said a word. They just bleep all over the show. I have ditched them in favor of a couple of much more entertaining guys who can be critical without forgetting they're fans of the show. I'm loving the Blacklist Exposed.
Thank you, Jim.
So what do you think about that? Did the spinoff affect your enjoyment at all?
We touched on that, I think, a couple episodes ago. I don't think it's affecting my enjoyment, but it affected the way I thought about my theories and where it was going. So because of that, I had to throw that theory completely out and just sit back and just watch it unfold as it unfolds, which is fine, too. Like I said, I just sometimes want to just watch it, not have to think so hard.
Exactly. Same. Absolutely the same. It did...
Because let me tell you, the last three episodes, have I lost my enjoyment for the show? Hell no. The last 3 episodes were great.
They've been great. I do wish we didn't have that information.
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Yes. And I am glad that we did not go into it here, except where we told people ahead of time so that we didn't hopefully didn't spoil it for anybody else. When you asked me how much of our banter is scripted, none. None. And Troy is a dum-dum. So yeah, that comes from the heart. When I call Troy a dum-dum,
it's because he loves me.
It's because I mean it, and he's a dum-dum.
Thanks, friend.
Okay, but any you feel like I get to be more me on the Blacklist, or am I just drinking again? I would say probably yes, because I don't get talked over as much. Troy seems to let me finish most of the time. And on the Hollywood Outsider, I'm always having to deal with those monkeys. So,
are you done yet? Can I read the next one now?
This is why nobody loves you. This is why you're alone in the world. Okay, go ahead, Red.
Thanks. Alexandra said, fine episode. Just fine, though. Maybe it's because I don't buy she's dead, and it didn't get to my emotion at all. Great performance by Amir, and especially Ryan Eggold, though. He just might be good enough to carry his own show. I totally love him without Lizzie. Love Harold getting back with his wife, and the badass fight scene with Samar and the soldier lady.
The soldier lady. Well, I guess he's assuming that she's working for the government. Is that what that means?
Potentially.
Yeah, Ryan. I think Ryan did a great job, and he actually, I think, could carry a show. Absolutely.
Yeah, his character of Tom is very interesting, and I'd love to explore more about Tom. Like we said, we don't want to explore more of Tom and Lizzie. We want to explore more of Tom.
Exactly. That's where we stand. So apparently it's possible. We'll see soon, won't we, NBC?
Yes. She continues, love Papa's character and the actor and how he called Red out on his crap. But to say something but not reveal anything was infuriating. I agree. You don't want to give us answers. Fine. But having two characters who know the whole story talk for 10 minutes dancing around the topic just doesn't make any sense to me. I just know how convenient was getting Tom all emotional about not knowing his family. The very same episode, we meet some mysterious lady woman, and he thinks she's Liz's mom, which some of us might think differently. Just saying. I wonder whom she might be related to. Side note, Lizzie would be so furious with Red for not telling her she had a grandpa, so I'm kind of upset with him about that myself. Overall, not much happened, so I'm very excited for the podcast. You guys always seem to see more than I do in these slow episodes. Winky emoticon.
You actually read Winky emoticon.
Winky emoticon.
You moron. Yeah, and speaking of slow, I didn't think it was a slow episode.
No.
I do see what you're saying, though. It wasn't like action-packed or anything like that.
It was a setup for things to come, but it was
Yeah.
it was a great episode, just had to set the stage for the next 3.
Absolutely. These last few have been just great, off the charts, fun. Pam said, I thought this episode was very emotionally manipulative. Yeah, and it worked, because my eyes rained. I don't like it when TV shows go out of their way to try to make me feel sad. Real life has more than enough sadness. I can't argue that. I can't help but think that if Lizzie's death turns out to be fake, the other characters will feel manipulated and angry when she pops up alive. It's not as though they are people who can't keep a secret. Part of Harold's eulogy for Liz seemed odd to me. I would never have described her as humble. She had a pretty strong inclination to think that she was the only one who could do a job right, and that's the opposite of humble. I agree. The interactions between Red and Katerina's father were interesting. I would have liked more of the mystery of the week. How do you feel about what Pam said?
The mystery of the week is great and all. When you're this close to the end of a season, I want make me keep coming back each week for something. If it was going to be procedural at this point, I'd be really frustrated, I think. I can live with the procedurals mid-season because there's nothing else to watch. So I'm going to watch it anyway because I'm an invested watcher. But I can handle the procedurals mid-season because there's just nothing else on. So I'll watch it even if it's maybe subpar for me being a genre TV watcher. But when it gets to the end of the season, man, it better be like a 3-part finale. And unfortunately, Lost made that setup for me way back in the day. So that's why it has to be that way now.
Yeah, and I do think we don't talk enough about, I don't think we do anyway, about how closely the show rides that line in terms of serialized and procedural. Because it is, I mean, it does go back and forth quite a bit. And a lot of shows try that and fail miserably. And I think Blacklist, for the most part, succeeds. But I definitely think there are fans of one style and fans of the other style, and they're firmly affixed to whatever their point of view is. And so for them, when they go away from the style that they prefer, it becomes a little frustrating.
And maybe if we get John and John on here at some point again, it's the one question I'm going to ask him is how much did they actually take from Veronica Mars? Because I think Veronica Mars, for those that haven't seen the show, should watch at least season 1. Brilliantly done. It's the quintessential viewpoint of how you can do a single season story in a procedural show, because they had a really great job of setting up this A arc for the whole season. Then they had a B arc, which is kind of like 3 parts put together. And then they had like a C arc, which then bridged into the B arc, which bridged into the A arc. And then you had the D story of the week kind of thing also. And the way it all came together in season 1 was just brilliantly done. And I feel the Blacklist is kind of that same model in a lot of ways. We get just the Artax network is the D story here. And then we get the kind of C B story, which is the whole Lizzie pregnant into this new bad threat, which ties into the mythology of why this threat and why these people and why did Red not know about them.
Man, when I thought Troy couldn't come up with another random serialized TV show, he throws Veronica Mars into the mix.
Watch it.
That's right.
Watch it.
Oh, it's a great show. It's one of my favorites. I loved it.
Then go watch iZombie, because it's Veronica Mars, but with zombies.
Since you have only referenced Lost and Alias for the last 2 years, I was shocked that you actually brought something else into the conversation. Good job.
That's right. I paid money to make that movie. I am a marshmallow.
In Fringe, I'm sorry. So this is the 4th show you've actually brought into. Okay, so that's all we're going to hear about from now on, kids, is Veronica Mars every week.
I miss Veronica Mars a lot.
I do. The movie was really fun, too.
The movie was great.
And I do want to say, the emotionally manipulative, yes, to a degree, I do agree with that, but it worked because I thought the performances were so strong. When you brought up the Lizzie's death thing, I am becoming of the mindset that the characters would have to not know that she faked her death. And maybe even Liz didn't know that she faked her own death. Because I do think that a death was faked. It's just a matter of who's involved. And I think that's where our theories keep bouncing around, because I'm not sure.
Yeah, and we have to keep an eye on the timeline here, because I agree with her that if she is alive and these characters have spent this time grieving, they would be pretty pissed off about it. I don't disagree with that statement. So we have to watch, even though for us it's like 4 or 5 weeks later by the time the season's over. Let's say she comes back in the finale. Not that we know. Anyway, don't not quote us. Do not put that in the press. We don't know anything. I'm just saying, if she were to come back in the finale, then how far from the death theoretically is it, right, in real Blacklist time? Is it a week? Is it 2 weeks? Because if that goes too far out, then I agree 100%. It would be a slap in the face to everybody that she was friends with, and I don't know how she could come back from that. And she already, and technically she already did that once this year by going on the run.
I think they could actually tease it without her showing up. I think you could very easily get the closing line, Red gets a piece of information from somebody that Liz is still alive. And that's how the season ends.
Oh,
and Megan actually doesn't even show up.
Like he's sitting in the car and all of a sudden Jane's Pizza calls him?
Yeah, something. I mean, just something happens where he gets a piece of information and he learns, or maybe he hears her voice or sees a video clip that looks kind of like Liz, and he's like, whoa, wait a minute. So, yeah, I think there's definitely a way they could do it without Megan Boone actually showing up.
I kind of like him sitting in the car and getting a phone call. Hello, Raymond. Cut to black.
You're weird. That would be cool, though. It would be cool. Well, that's going to conclude this episode. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at @TheBlacklistGSM, where we live tweet during the East Coast feed, and we use the show's hashtag, #TheBlacklist.
Yes, and don't forget to follow us on Tumblr, Instagram, and join our Facebook group. We are approaching 1,000 people in there chatting about this great show that we love. That's The Blacklist Exposed. Just search for it on Facebook. Talk about the show, the podcast, or just make fun of Aaron and I.
I prefer you just make fun of Troy. I am sensitive. I have feeling.
You see, I included myself. I could have just said make fun of Aaron, but I'm an equal opportunity friend.
Yeah, you're trying anyway. I'm glad you're growing as a person. I really am. It's almost genuine.
But the question is...
Oh,
Just
God.
kidding.
Yeah. Troy's question is, you can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Please leave us a review if you do, or just listen from the website if you're really on the go. Make sure you download our app for iOS or Android. It's powered by Spreaker. You can have an app on your phone, which is the Blacklist, man. It's cool. You can also find all the intel and analysis about this episode for the Artax network by visiting theblacklistexposed.com. Big thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget to answer our profiling question of the week. Is Famke Janssen's character, the mysterious woman, ultimately responsible for Liz's death?
We'll find out next week.
Take care, guys.
Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinritz. That's at Troy Heinritz on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinritz.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsider.com or on Twitter at H_outsider. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of
The Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.